problem with an inadequate strategy, the problem will continue to sustain itself. So scholars thinking about these issues have tried to rethink how we think about race and ways of dealing with it. There are three approaches that I think are very useful when we talk about race and the law. The first is a critical legal studies approach. Now, critical legal studies basically says that law is simply a system for protecting privilege. That the idea of law protecting the rights of individuals, seeking some truth, sustaining justice is really a fabrication and a mythology. It's a pretty extreme position. It is avowedly leftist. It is based upon trashing the existing system. And so even though it called into question some of the basic ways in which law was practiced, other scholars who were actually scholars of color who were writing about race saw it as inadequate, largely because it failed to recognize that the problem is not the system itself. The problem is not contractarian justice or the social contract or the adherence to the social contract. It's the inconsistency in the incoherence that is dealt with in terms of that contract when race is involved. And so critical race studies scholars came out with a different approach. They departed from the idea of trashing, but tried to find ways that you could actually take the principles of the social contract and extend and apply them. And they're talking about very, very concrete things. A lot of the work came out in terms of hate speech, but it applies to all sorts of other aspects of the legal system as well. The third area is what's come to be known as critical media or critical criminology studies. And in that area, people talk about constructing replacement discourses. That is, they adhere to this notion that this is fundamentally a persuasive problem, it's fundamentally an educational problem, but it's also a problem of there having been a dominant narrative, a dominant way of talking about and thinking about the world that has not been adequately challenged. So Greg Barrick's work on newsmaking and criminology talks about the ways in which we can reconstruct and redefine media in order to challenge the ways in which people of color are depicted. All of this has been very, very theoretical, but there are very powerful practical aspects of this. And my colleague Rachel Lyon has herself been actively involved in helping to redefine and reconstruct the way that we talk about and think about and see race in the media, and has, in her own work, articulated and presented replacement discourses, replacement imaginaries about race in the media. And so I'm going to pass this over to her so she can talk about that.